If you're an athlete and you're doing this when you're winded to try to help you recover, or if you're a coach and you're telling your athletes, hey, the air is not down here, the air is up here, like so many coaches I've had told me, you're doing exactly the opposite of what you think you're doing, and you're actually impeding an athlete's ability to recover. Stick around. In this video, I'm gonna cover why that is the last thing you wanna do. I'm gonna explain to you where this misconception came from, and I'm gonna give you the best possible way to help yourself or your athletes on your team recover when you're winded in the middle of a game so you can get back and have the best possible performance. First, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Bio. This is the newest product I've been taking from them. It's a nootropic, it's called NAD+, and I've been taking it for a little bit over a month now. And basically what I have noticed is that it gives me just that little bit of an edge, especially when I'm doing research or when I'm working on my next book, which I am working on my next book, so thank you for that edge. The inspiration for this video comes from an interaction I recently had with a guy I know. He bumped into me and he said, hey, you know, whenever I see you, I feel like I need to suck in my belly and really expand my chest. I see you doing all the breathwork stuff and you do all the breath training. And he's like, I'm sure all my breathing is really wrong. I realized that he had a misconception on breathing. There was actually quite a few people around and they probably all had misconceptions about how to breathe correctly. And I could have gone over to the guy and shown him functional breathing, really corrected any dysfunction in his breathing, at least set him on a path so that every breath that he took would breathe better health, better life, more focus, better sleep, all those things into his life with every single breath he took. But the problem was, I had just gotten an order of tacos. Those tacos, they were getting cold, and I was at a crossroads. I chose the tacos, and you know what? I don't have any regrets. I'm making this video. Maybe this is just a way that I can help more people. I'm gonna send this video, and Jeff, I'm sending this video to you to help you out, but also everyone else. But those tacos were calling me. This is a very common misconception with breath, and we're gonna talk about it today. So let's get into it. I'm done with there's no tacos in the near vicinity, so I'm pretty clear. Let's get into this. The belief that putting your hands up on top of your head is the best way for a quick recovery actually originates from some erroneous beliefs about breathing that we get from the 1800s and the early 1900s. In this time, it was believed that expanding your chest was the best way to engage the upper lobes of your lungs, which were believed at the time to be underutilized. One of the things I will say is that during this time, there was a heavy emphasis on posture, which is great, but the emphasis on posture made us think that we needed to keep our tummies tucked and our chest expanded. And a lot of this was also influenced by the fitness culture of the time. We were always getting into wars, and so this was another thing. We wanted to look fit, we wanted to look strong. Actually, one of the most influential sources on this was Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. So yes, the same Kellogg behind Kellogg's Corn Flakes and many of the beliefs when it came to health and wellness during the 1800s. In one of his writings on health and hygiene, he spoke about the importance of keeping a good posture and having an expansive chest with every breath. Another influential person during this time was named Bernard McFadden, and he wrote Physical Culture, which was primarily focused on what eventually we would now call maybe the bodybuilding culture or the physical fitness culture. He emphasized what he called deep breathing. Again, not what we would consider to be deep breathing now, but deep breathing for him was large, expansive chest breaths. Again, expanding that chest, keeping the tummy tight. A lot of these conceptions were based off of the appearance of a person who is healthy. Well, the person who is healthy, at least in our belief, has a big old chest, they have great posture, and they have a tucked in tummy. And because that's what a healthy person looks like, that's what a healthy person will look like when they're breathing the right way. When we look at how the origins of putting your hands on top of your head might have originated, and there's really, as far as my research could tell, I couldn't really find an exact origin of where this came from, but the place where it likely came from was the belief that if you open up the chest, you're going to enhance breathing. It overlooks the importance of your primary breathing muscles, the diaphragm, and your intercostal muscles need that ability to move freely, which moving and putting your hands over your head impedes. So in order to illustrate why putting your hands on the top of your head is such a terrible idea, first I want to take us back to ancient Rome. They were known for lots of things. They had the circus, they had the Colosseum, they had a lot of really cool stuff. Us dudes, we think about it all the time, apparently. But one of the things they were also known for was their use of crucifixion. In crucifixion, for those of you guys who remember Sunday school, they would nail you to a cross, and so they would nail your arms out like this, and they would nail your feet together. And during that time, actually, that was not a fatal thing. There was all kinds of stories about people just surviving and just in terrible agony for days and days and days. In order to hasten death, Romans would practice what they called crucifixion. Crucifixion was the practice of breaking the person's legs. This would result in them coming down, okay? They couldn't bring themselves up to breathe, and they would be at this posture, which would cause them asphyxiation, and that's how they would actually kill them. Now take a look at what I'm about to do. Oh my God, what do we have here? We have exactly the thing that you've been telling your athletes to do, and that my coaches told me to do all throughout my high school career. Okay, you might be saying, Jesse, are you saying that if I'm putting my hands on my head, I am doing the same thing as crucifying myself? Crucifixion is a bit more extreme, but I hope you get the point that when we have physical structures in that position, we are mimicking the same position that was once used to asphyxiate victims of crucifixion. So now we're living in the 21st century and we understand a lot more about how respiration works and what proper breathing will look like. We know that we're trying to get the overall best gas exchange. And to do that, we need to maximize ventilation perfusion. Now, this is a term that basically means the ability to get air where it's going to have the maximum uptake and gas exchange within our lungs. And that is not going to be the upper lobes. So this is where they had it wrong. They didn't realize that the upper lobes really have the worst ventilation perfusion. And this is primarily because of gravity's effect on circulation. We also have the most surface area on our lower lobes as opposed to the upper lobes. So we want to maximize surface area and we want to maximize perfusion. So in order to make that happen, what we have to do is we have to utilize our primary breathing muscle, and that is our diaphragm. In a functional breath, we want the diaphragm to descend, and when it descends, now there's no lungs down here, but what's going to happen is you're going to see some expansion here. Now this is not always the case when an athlete is in the process of doing the sport. But let's just suppose we're just standing here, right? Just standing here. You're going to see some expansion in this area because what happens is the diaphragm descends, and what's down here? What's down here? It's your guts, right? And so it's going to put some pressure on all the guts you have in this area. So you're going to see some expansion down here. You're not going to see that tucked tummy. We are displacing some of these organs that are here. So all throughout this abdominal area, you're going to see some expansion. And what that does, it is pulling down your lower lobes and expanding those lower lobes so that they can have absolutely the best surface area. From there, we want to start to expand our rib cage. So we start using our intercostal muscles to expand that rib cage. Again, expanding, improving the overall surface area of the lungs that is exposed to every breath we take. Only then do we really maximize this chest area. And when we do that, yes, we are expanding the upper lobes of our lungs. There is some gas exchange there, but the primary gas exchange occurs in the lower lobes. And to maximize that, we can't keep our tummy tucked all the time. We have to let that tummy out. Now, again, when we are playing sports, this might change because you have to brace. And if you're interested, if you're an athlete or if you're a coach and you're interested in learning more about how to train an athlete to breathe properly in sports, I do a certification program. You can take a look at all my resources below. But in everyday breathing, you want to expand the lower lobes, and that means expanding this area down here. So to take a full functional breath, if you're standing up, let's just do this together. And I'll just do this with you. Belly, really expand the belly area, expand the ribs, and then the chest. So here we go. So okay, now you're also noticing that I'm not bringing my shoulders up whenever I do this. I'm expanding. Now you're seeing some movement in my accessory breathing muscles, and that is totally normal. There is some movement that direction. We're not moving it with our shoulders though. Okay, so Jesse, what are we supposed to do? I've heard you talk about what I'm doing wrong. Thanks a lot. All of my coaches told me to do this, you know, and they were nice people. And yes, coaches were very nice people. My coaches told me to do that too. They were probably excellent coaches, but they were told the same thing by their coach, which probably told their coach. This is an old thing that has to die. What are you supposed to do? Let me show you. And it's gonna look familiar. You see this? You see the exact thing that you naturally did and your coach told you not to do? Let me tell you the nuance to this. So you do want to come down on your knees, but you're gonna brace on your knees. You're not going hunching over, you're not quasimodo, right? If you do that, then you are impeding breath, right? If you hunch over, that's impeding breath. You want to keep a nice flat or a neutral spine. You're gonna brace yourself on your knees, and then you're going to do that breath that I just showed you. Belly, ribs, chest, relax it out. Belly, ribs, chest, relax it out. And if you do it that way, you are facilitating the most functional and effective breath for recovery, and you're not stressing yourself out. Another thing a lot of people don't understand is that when we're up here like this, we are straining our accessory muscles. We call them accessory breathing muscles because they also do other things. One of the things accessory breathing muscles will do is expand the chest. Yes, that's true, but these are muscles that already have jobs as well, and they're areas where we already put stress. So if you're straining these muscles that it takes you to be in this position, that's that much more strain on those muscle groups. You can be resting those muscle groups. So when we look back at some of our forefathers in the world of fitness and wellness, we can't look at them as morons. They were not dumb people. They just didn't have access to the science that we have now. They were doing the best they could with the observations that they had, but they were also being heavily influenced by the culture, right? So they were looking at, this is what a healthy person looks like in my culture. Therefore, whatever is healthy needs to fit this model. Fortunately, we know now that functional breathing is breathing that facilitates ventilation perfusion, as opposed to something that just looks like you're a strong, healthy person. I also want to say that a lot of these older manuals, they did get a lot right. So it's not like they were just guessing and throwing ideas out there that were ridiculous. There is a lot of good material in these manuals from the 1800s and early 20th century when it comes to how they looked at human physiology and movement. It's just that we have a lot more research now. We have 200 years of research, 100 years at least of research, and we know more now. So the next time I bump into you, Jeff, you can just let this out, let it out, and show that you understand that taking a deep breath is not about how big you can poof out your chest. It's about how well you can make that gas exchange happen. So thanks so much for watching today. I hope this has been as much fun for you as it's been for me to make. I'm gonna go get some tacos. Take a look at some of my links below if you're interested in learning more about how to be a breath coach or just how to breathe better for everyday life. The things I've covered today, they are just really basic, scratch the surface things. It goes a lot deeper, and I'm very happy to say that I have a lot of resources to take you as far as you want to go on this journey. So again, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.